It has been revealed, God of War Laufey is on the way, and I'm here to talk about it. I'm gonna break down the combat in detail, and after that I'll lightly discuss the other stuff. First we're gonna discuss the return of jumping and aerial combat, and then we're gonna talk about grounded combat and all the different attack options. If you get tired of the jump discussion, it does go on a bit of a tangent, skip to this time code for the rest of the combat talk. I like that Santa Monica knows how big of a deal the removal of the jump button was in the 2018 reboot, as they make it the first thing your character does. Aerial combat and platforming were key parts of the original game's experience, and they have been sorely missed. They knew putting a jump at the beginning of the reveal would make people scream.
They're starting on the path. It's just... Say goodbye.
She fucking jumped! Fuck yeah! Double jumping smack, baby!
I felt something move inside me too, I'll admit it.
Oh my god.
And they've inverted the way these new God of War games present their experience. Remember in 2018 how the opening 15 minutes of it was just carrying a log, rowing a boat, setting your wife on fire, walking around, talking, tolerating your asshole kid, picking stuff up, until you finally get to fight something? Well, this time, Laufey gets right to the first enemies in less than a minute and a half. What a massive improvement. They save the big intro cinematic for after you get to feel out the combat, and I just love that. It is a video game after all, thank you. They quickly show off her fast-forward slide into an air launcher and air combo. They know who they're trying to impress. This air launcher comes after a sidestep into jump kick that sends an enemy flying backwards. Pretty cool. The Devil May Cry comparisons came immediately, and the DMC fans were understandably defensive over this, but you have to admit to certain similarities. While people do see extended air juggles and think DMC as their first comparison, even though there are many other titles that have them, this sequence in particular is very Dante. The downward heavy slash is in like every Devil May Cry, and it's not a move that's in every hack and slash. The long extended air juggles do concern me a bit, as Laufey isn't descending at all in this aerial state. She's floating up there like Yamuko in Ninja Gaiden 4. Hopefully there's some good counterplay to this, and some complexity. Laufey is quick and nimble, and it's nice to see the boss later on grab her out of the air, which suggests there will be enemy behavior throughout the game to challenge her aerial power, so she can't just air launch into combo over and over. And here you can see a single jump into a double jump to avoid the enemy's anti-air grab. We have to ask, does this mean the return of platforming? 2018 and Ragnarok only had auto-platforming and slowly climbing along set paths. And here we see Laufey jumping over a crevice under the player's control. But will we actually have anything we can fail at? Can you jump too early and fall into the crevice and die? That's what I want. Just giving the player a jump button doesn't mean there's platforming, because platforming requires the possibility of failure. Not just instantly dying, but falling to a previous level. Look at an Uncharted game. A lot of this stuff is on the rails, but you can still mess up your jump angle or mistime it, just like the old God of War games. My assumption is no. We will not have any platforming that the player can actually fail, because I believe platforming was removed from 2018 because it's a barrier to people who want to play on the easy story difficulty. See, if you're terrible at the game, or just lazy, or, to be fair, handicapped, you can play 2018 and Ragnarok on easy because the combat becomes super basic and forgiving, and there's really not much else to create any resistance outside of maybe a handful of puzzles, but a lot of the tricky ones are in optional areas anyway. If the games had true platforming, that platforming would be the same no matter what difficulty you're on, and it would therefore become a frustrating barrier to people with no coordination who just want to enjoy story time. So no, I predict no true platforming. I hope to be wrong about it. As for grounded action, I want you to notice the speed of her light attack. Being a sword instead of an axe, it's much faster, giving a more dramatic difference between her light and heavy attacks. It's a good example of the speed increase we're seeing to action, along with her slide, and her, I assume to be unlocked later, ability to teleport around the room, since we see her blinking in and out defensively at points, as well as using the ribbon of her sword to pull herself towards an enemy during a cinematic. I like that we see her magic failing in the opening combat encounter, which ties into her needing to rediscover it in the cinematic. And once she gets it, all hell breaks loose. She's able to use the ribbons long range like Kratos' chains, so it appears she can go back and forth between sword attacks, ribbon attacks, and her magic push. I don't know how the player controls this, but it does look very fluid. I'm gonna slow this down and go step by step. She pushes this guy's spirit out, does one sword swipe, pushes again, sword swipes again, and ends with another push. When the combo's over, the sword is not equipped, so I think she's switching between stances in this sequence, ending in her fist stance, and re-equipping the sword at the end. Then, using some button combination, she's able to use the ribbons of the sword long range, and then continue with normal sword attacks. The free switching between these different styles has me interested, especially seeing how the ribbon attacks are part of the sword stance instead of being their own dedicated stance like Kratos' chains. After this, we get the awful slow turning that plagues the reboot's combat because these games make you steer your character like a tank instead of just pushing the stick in a direction and that's where your character goes. Hey, Santa Monica, this isn't a fixed camera survival horror game, we don't need tank controls. I don't know why they would include this and not just do a quick 180 turn. It happens twice in this footage and both times it just twists me up inside. Next, we see some kind of, it's not a parry, would you call it a counter? She avoids the attack and goes right into a magic stun state, pushes again and the enemy is already in stagger. So I think this counter attack applies a buttload of stun. We've got a cool aerial juggle that flies down into a 360 swipe, presumably good for crowds, and it continues to juggle too. Then we get another one of these counters. It looks like some kind of backstep she can do into her magic or sword attack. Here it's the ribbon that pulls the enemy forward, and she jump kicks him. I'm very curious what the input is for this kick, because this moment here shows that it's not just a sidestep specific option. This leads to the coolest moment of the showcase, where the jump kick actually bounces the enemy off the cube and gives you an air juggle follow-up. I love the interaction here with your partner, and there's a good sound cue to know that you're gonna get this interaction as she calls Frank's name as the jump kick connects. Very smart. What I want to know is if you're controlling Frank like Atreus and if you can actually position him for these interactions, or does he just move on his own and that's it? Twice in this combat area, we see her push an enemy's soul out of his body, and I have to wonder if that's like the basic runic attack her fist can equip, because we've seen her push enemies and it doesn't come out, so why does it come out here? Does it have to do with a magic meter we aren't being shown at this moment? I'm very interested in finding out. The interactions of this attack are pretty cool. You can see that as soon as she makes contact with the soul, every enemy underneath the hovering body gets stunned. Then the soul goes flying back, damaging the stunned enemies, and returns to the body to explode. Here we see it a second time, while an enemy is being attacked by Frank. He goes into stun once the soul is being attacked, the soul flies directly into the stunned enemy and then returns to the body. Seems like a very useful and fun magic attack. After seeing all this, I think the combat could be pretty fun, more than the last games. Am I saying it's going to be super deep and complex? No, but neither was Onimusha 1 when I played it for the first time this year, and I had a blast. Now let's get to the boss fight. My lord, how far we've come. I mean, do you see all the stuff going on with this first boss? Not only are you starting with a ton of combat options, but he has plenty as well. Compare this to God of War 2018, where it takes 20 fucking minutes to get to the troll fight, and all you can do is sidestep and swing your basic axe attack. Remember how awful that was? Look at us now, baby. I'm not gonna break down everything happening in the boss fight though. We have dodges, counters, parries, combos during stagger states, unblockables. It's probably pretty fun. For all the issues I have with modern God of War, the 1v1 boss fights are not one of them. I thoroughly enjoyed many of the boss fights in Ragnarok because the camera problems and the tank control problems pretty much disappear. And don't bother telling me these games don't have camera and control issues. You're on the wrong channel if you hold that opinion. Okay, that's my gameplay breakdown. I can't get into much else without knowing about magic, healing, cooldowns, the RPG elements, etc. I wish we'd seen more combat, because this footage was presented to us as more than 20 minutes of uninterrupted gameplay, and I don't think you should be saying that when 15 to 16 minutes of it is cutscenes plus opening credits. I get it, it's the complete opening chapter of the game, but come on, the term gameplay shouldn't be tossed around like this. Visually, it looks very good. Like the other new God of War games, it's graphically impressive, but I am growing tired of every new major release trying to look as realistic as possible. I think these games all look the same. I don't like how the new Wolverine game looks either. It looks fun to play, but something about all these modern games, they look interchangeable to me in the graphics department. I feel like there was a lot more variety in game look back when technology wasn't so close to photorealistic. There's been a lot of yelling back and forth about Laufey's face, and I get it, the change from Ragnarok to this is certainly a downgrade in the looks department, but I personally don't care much about it. I think she still looks pretty good. What is the character supposed to be, mid-40s, 50? How old is Kratos? They're modeling her directly off the voice actress this time, who is one of the most beautiful women on Earth, so she's not the problem. I just don't think they translated her face that well to the model, I guess. It feels off at points. But then at other points I think she still looks really good. I don't know, I'd still buy her dinner. We know little about Laufey as a person, so they've got a lot of freedom to flesh her out and make us care about her journey. I'm open to it. I'm not coming to her with any prejudices like I would in an Atreus game. The setting is certainly interesting, a realm where the dead gods are not at peace, but imprisoned by other gods. I like it. Various mythologies cross with Mongolian, Egyptian, Mormon, spaghetti monster. Who knows who's gonna show up? Hopefully a compelling adventure awaits us. I was pretty drawn in by everything happening in the cinematic intro. I really don't know much about modern God of War mythology and lore, so I don't know what other details to get excited about. I'll have to do my homework, I guess. I like the look of the villain, and I like that for our female protagonist, we have another woman final boss to hunt down. Her tone of voice was intimidating and bold, which makes me not like the fact that at the same time we're gonna have wacky, witty dialogue coming at us at all times from a talking cube and sword.
I'm not the sword. I'm the ribbons, obviously.
I echo Captain Kuba's sentiment about the structure of the game. I want a more linear-focused adventure with good pacing and story beats to keep things rolling, not some unfocused wander around the woods looking for trinkets and doing favors for ghosts.
I also have my worries about what type of level design this game will have. I've been saying this for a while, but I think these movie games PlayStation makes are much better when they take a more linear approach. That way they can tune the pacing of the story a lot better. If they want to be more movie-like, be more movie-like. And the game already got me with the hook of the everyone. I want to know what's up with that telescope in the distance. The last thing I want to hear while being immersed in the story is Frank telling me, "Hey Faye, you want to go and check out over there? No cap, there might be some really cool loot for you to find." And then you do the side quest and you get a shitty piece of armor that you're never going to wear. For this game, I want Santa Monica to make a clear decision. Either make a linear game with really tight storytelling like Uncharted 2, or make a fully open world game that allows the player to explore as he wishes from the moment the game starts, like Elden Ring or more recently Mina the Hollower. I'm okay with either approach. What I don't like is the current approach that ultimately fails at doing either one of them properly.
Alright, that's all I've got for you. I am overall optimistic, I think. I'm sure you all came here expecting me to rage over it, but if you did, that shows a lack of familiarity with my actual opinion of these games, as I've been quite clear about the aspects I think are done very well and the potential I've seen in them. All I can do is tell you my honest opinion, and I think it looks interesting because Ragnarok, despite having some gigantic issues that make me never want to play it again, had several great improvements to the core gameplay that lead me to be confident in this new one being even more solid to play. Laufey looks like she can do some fun stuff, and these new games are challenging with high difficulty settings available at the start. Put me in the cautiously optimistic category, and I guess I'm actually kinda looking forward to it. We'll see. And it's woke.